Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
So, you own a Chevy and you've run into this code, P182E. Sounds like a headache, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what that error means and, way more importantly, what you can do about it. So, let's just dive right in. Ah, there it is. You know the one. That dreaded check engine light, just glowing on your dashboard. So you run a diagnostic and it spits out this code, P182E. I know, it sounds super complicated, but stick with me here, because we're about to make sense of it all. Okay, so the official name for this code is Internal Mode Switch Invalid Range. Yeah, that's a mouthful. But what it really boils down to is a problem with your car's gear position sensor. Basically, your car is just confused. It has no idea what gear it's actually in. All right, so what's really happening under the hood when this warning light decides to pop on? Let's get into the communication failure that's really at the heart of this whole thing. Think of it this way, right? When you shift your car into drive, or reverse, or park, you're giving it a command. You're telling it what to do. This code, P1820E, it means there's a serious breakdown in that communication line. The part that's supposed to know what gear you've selected isn't talking properly to the car's main computer, its brain. And that brings us to the two key players in this little drama. First up, you've got the internal mode switch, or IMS for short. This is the guy that actually reads the physical position of your gear selector. Then you have the transmission control module, the TCM. That's the computer, the car's brain we were just talking about, that receives the signal from the IMS. So this code P182E pops up when the signal going from the switch to the computer is just illogical. It's out of the expected range, and the computer throws a flag. Okay, so why does this communication break down in the first place? Well, your car's computer is incredibly precise. It logs a fault when it detects very, very specific electrical errors. Let's take a look at what those are. Now, what's pretty wild here is just how precise this is. Let's simplify it. Think of a circuit signal being high when it has voltage, like a light switch being flipped on, and low when it doesn't. Your car's computer expects a very specific on-off pattern for each gear. If that pattern is wrong, even for a few seconds like you see here, bam, it triggers the code. And while you're looking at that table, did you happen to notice a pattern in that second column? I mean, every single one of these technical causes points to the exact same fix. So, this brings us to the core solution, because despite all those different technical triggers we just looked at, there's really one main approach that tackles all of them. And this slide really gets right to the heart of it. The source material is crystal clear on this. The most common and effective solution starts with the absolute fundamentals, checking the wiring and replacing any parts that have failed. See, it's often not some massive, catastrophic system failure. It's a problem with the simple connections between the parts. So if we break it down, the process is pretty logical. First, you or your mechanic will need to physically inspect the wiring harness that connects the IMS to the TCM. You're looking for anything obvious: corrosion, breaks, maybe a loose connection. Step 2 is figuring out which component is actually at fault. Is it the switch, the module, or just a bad wire? And finally, step 3 is simple: replace whatever's broken. Okay, so let's say the repair is done. The new part is in. How do you actually know the problem is solved for good? How can you be sure? Well, you've got two main methods here. The road test is the practical, real-world approach. You just drive the car and see if it behaves normally. Shifting smoothly without that check engine light coming back to haunt you. The second, more technical method is using a scan tool. A technician can plug this in to see if any of those pesky fault codes are still lurking in the system's memory. Ultimately, the goal here is super simple. After the repair and the test, that P1820E code should be cleared from the system, and your car should shift and drive exactly like it's supposed to. That right there is the sign of a successful fix. So what's the big takeaway from all this? What's the final word? Let's distill all of this information down into one key piece of advice. And this is a really important point. While the solution might sound pretty straightforward, check a wire, replace a part, pinpointing the exact failure often requires specialized tools and, frankly, a lot of knowledge. If you're not super comfortable with automotive wiring, this is definitely one of those times where getting professional help is the best and, honestly, the safest way to go. So the next time some complex sounding error code pops up on your dashboard, it's worth remembering what we've talked about here. Sometimes the most confusing problems actually come from the simplest of failures. In a whole system packed with computers and high-tech sensors, could the real culprit be nothing more than a single simple wire? It's definitely something to think about.